Piccia.
Hello, Michelle. Here we are again.
Here we are.
Thursday. Who
That week
would
goes by so
imagine?
fast.
Who would have imagined we'd be here again so fast? I mean, it
I
is
know, it's
way
very
quicker
quick.
it feels way quicker than a week. I mean, what is happened to
It does.
weeks?
My
I,
father, when I was young, my father said that for me, a year felt so long, like when I was in first grade or second grade, and for him, a year went so quickly. And I said, well, why is that? And he said, well, for you, at 7 years old, 1 year is 1/7 of your life, but for him, at like 40 years old, a year is 1/40th of his life, and therefore they start to feel like they pick up speed. And so I'm attributing our didn't we just do this yesterday? Oh no, it was a week ago to that same theory.
that's such a great theory. I hadn't thought about that in those terms. I think I mentioned before, but then again, because I'm ancient, I don't remember. I think I did mention that I once watched a video about a fabulous speaker, someone who does web performance. Her first name is Tammy, but obviously I think Tammy Lister, and she's not Tammy Lister. So she has no chance of me remembering her surname, but I will remember it. She works for a web performance company, and she gave a talk at Beyond Talleyrand 2023 in Berlin, where I also spoke. And it was about how the sense of the sense of time, why speed, website speed is such a much more important UX metric than we think. And she proved to us, the audience, that that it is absolutely true that the older we get, the faster time goes by. So, Michelle, we're just justified. I think actually you and I are more or less the same age. So
I believe
we
so,
have,
yeah.
yeah. And she said that in her family they have this metric to measure time, and it is how many. You know the song "My Sharona" by the Kings,
Yes.
fabulous classic, and it's a family classic. So they measure time, how long it takes to get to somewhere, or how long until something happens in Sharonas. Or there'd be about 5 Sharonas. Isn't that
Oh,
the
that's
coolest
cute.
thing?
That is.
But there's
That is.
at least 20 Sharonas. So, you can relax.
Oh my goodness, that's
It's
wonderful.
really
I
great.
love it. Well,
Yeah.
today we are talking about formatting and how formatting um, is how you can make formatting more accessible. And it's actually pretty opportune. Yesterday, I was I was uh, on my phone, and when I just open up a new browser in Chrome on my phone, it suggests all of these articles, and so it seems endless. Eventually, you do get to the bottom, but there's at least 30 or 40 articles that it's like, hey, maybe this would be interesting to you. I'm sure it's based on some algorithm of things I open or whatever. And I noticed that on some posts, when you open them, the text shifts around. So like it doesn't stay centered on the page. Like it can actually shift back and forth. And so you're shifting into white space. And when you're trying to scroll, things are moving around. And I thought, this is terrible. Terrible UX, right? It's not a good user experience. And I posted on Twitter, I was like, so why does this happen? And some people were giving me reasons why it happens, with divs and all of these different things, and why certain elements might be scaled too wide for the phone, and so all of these different things. And I thought, what a terrible accessibility feature, because links and targets like that must be moving targets if the whole screen can shift left to right based on one element. So I think format today, considering that experience I had yesterday, and I'm not, somebody who requires a screen reader and is looking for those kinds of things. And I had a terrible user experience, and I was struggling to scroll and struggling to find links and struggling to even get back a page because of the way things were moving around on the screen. And that's just one experience. So I'm very anxious to hear all of your inputs today on how formatting works.
I'm looking at your post from yesterday, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my God. Okay, so formatting, or also known as layout,
Layout. Mm-hmm.
is such a big topic because it's also it's hard to define. I think it was a bit easier to define before when I was doing things in print and they wouldn't shift in the way that layout shifts. As like also it has the green it has green text against the white background. It's like that contrast is
Oh yeah.
not pass a contrast test, that's for sure. So uh what do we mean by layout? Well, layout or formatting is I call it layout, but we understand one another. Is how things are placed on the page, and we already brought it up when we talked about typography, didn't we? We were talking about
Yeah.
how alignment is such a hugely powerful tool in our arsenal, not just to make things more understandable, but also to lead people where we want them. Why would you do that? So, linking back to that conversation that we had, I'm going to bring up, I checked today that there's a website that I use in my lessons or talks to demonstrate how terrible centered alignment can be, which is often the default on the web, we were saying. Centered alignment, not just for text, but for layouts in general. I mean, it's kind of the default. And often people mix
Right.
centered and left align, and it just does my head in visually. It just makes my head spin. It makes me dizzy. So I went to check because I know that example is from a while ago. So I went to check that same website and see how they're doing the layout now. And the results are very, very interesting. So I'm going to bring up, and I say that with the usual confidence, and actually I have it here. So isn't that amazing? I'm going to bring up this share and I am going to present it in here. Window, there you go.
Excuse me.
So this is from the Frans Hals Museum website. It's a museum in Amsterdam, I believe. And it's this web.
Terrible.
Yeah, I know, every time. It's so bad. It was, so it's changed now, as we'll see.
Good.
But it was a very creative website, which I kind of well, I will use the web archive, God bless the web archive, because it's such a good example of creativity gone beyond what it needs to do, which is inform. We're looking at the visits page. So it's where people go to gather information, and there are three colors on the page: a very thin black vertical strip, then a wider mint green or teal green strip, and then the rest of the page is pink. And so these are three strips already, and all the information is centered within that strip. Plus there's like a 3-column layout at the top, and below is like 4, and yet text stuff is centered within that. So it's an absolute nightmare trying to pass the information. And so if I look, it's like a line trying to uh, replicate to demonstrate the journey that the eye has to take, and it's so zigzaggy, it's so difficult, it's so impossible. Plus they don't really use weights or visual hierarchy to differentiate the text, so it's really, really hard to pass the information. And I sort of demonstrate very simply how so this is a different web page. We're just going to skip to that one if it lets me. No, we have to suffer. We have to suffer. We're here to
We have to wait
suffer.
for the animations.
So here we are. So we have to wait for the animation because I have lost the. I could have done this. I could have done this from the beginning. Never mind. So this is the same page, but just aligned to the left. Just aligned to the left. And that already makes a huge difference, even if the hierarchy is sort of hard to read still. So this is what we mean by layout, by laying things out in a way that helps our eye. But what we haven't done here is check the structure, because to someone who is sighted, who are using their eyes, who are able to use their eyes to interpret and understand this information, it's very clear. You've got 3 sections. You start from the left because that's where Western languages start. So you start from the left and then you go to the right, and there are 3 different sections where you get the types of information, then you get the times, and then you get the prices. This is how we do it. But unless this is actually structured correctly with HTML, someone who isn't sighted may not be able to make any sense of this at all. So this is what I didn't do at the time. I didn't check also the structure because the reason for this screenshot was totally visual. However, now we can go and check their website, that same website now, and see how they've changed it. So we are going to do that now.
So David's with us in the chat, and he says, well, first, at least they made each line of text short, and then that left aligned is definitely a lot easier to read. So
yes, agreed. It is, because obviously it would be right aligned with a language that aligns to right. There are also languages that go vertically, so there's also that. But for us in the English language and in most European languages, left aligned is a lot easier to read, because you're just telling me, look here, this is what you give an anchor to the eye. So now we have the new version of this website. And actually, I haven't seen the visit page. So here, cookies, accept or no, rather not. No, rather not. So now so this website has improved a lot, but I'm going to do what I do with what I used to do with Nathan Wrigley, our friend, when I used to do UX reviews and UX shows with him. What's wrong with this, Michelle? What is wrong with homepage? What are we looking at?
We are looking at, first of all caps, which I hate. Because it's really hard. And it's also animated across the top. We have a slider that's sliding things through. And we have text over images, which also makes it very difficult to read.
Did I hit all the things? My job here is done. I have nothing left to teach you. So yeah, so that's still really, really problematic. But from the point of view of the layout, they have done it right. So you've got a navigation at the top. You've got everything is left aligned, and it is much clearer. Then we have this initial section which has huge contrast issues, because even the navigation actually has a transparency. There's they're going to have to change this. Hello, European Accessibility Act. They've got to change it. I'm surprised. They're a public institution, so I'm really surprised that they haven't done it yet. And I really, really question whether it's pretty, because I can't see the image anyway. You could argue that, you want to see the image, but do you see the image? No, you don't see it. And then, of course, as I resize, which I should resize to get as much of it as possible, and everything is covered by other things, by text. So what I always say is, can you make a decision? Is it about the text or is it about the image? It would be so much more effective if, as in the panel below, you had an image on the left and the text on the right, or vice versa. Here, they're clearly following what is called the Z layout, because you can see that at the top in the hero section, the text is on the left. Then below, it's on the right with an image on the left. And then you have your highlights section, which is a panel, and again it has text on the images. It just does not work. I cannot read it. I get really distracted, and because of my vestibular issues, it actually makes me a bit sick as well. So they've done this here. So they've improved it, because I do think it's an improvement, because before it was just crazy, that website. It really was mad, and it was in a way you were like, well, this does look great, but still. So what we're going to look at now, we are going to look at the structure, because it's all good for us. We can use our site. We both use assistive technology because we both wear glasses, but we can use our site. So when we look at we use the Wave Web Accessibility Evaluation tool, which is completely free and anyone can get it from WebAIM. If I look at the structure, it tells me very interesting things, that this is going to be very, very, very difficult for a non-sighted person that prefers to use headings, because a lot of people who use screen readers like to use headings to guide themselves, like in the same way we scan through a web page using headings. And actually I have to
Right.
scroll down because that moving slider, there was a slider moving on the screen and it really bothered me. So
Mhm.
we can see that the structure is all wrong, because H1 is home, which is not helpful at all. Every website has a home. What do you mean? H1 should be, well, it doesn't look like it's got a page title. It doesn't have a page title. The page title is home. The page title should be probably Franz House Museum. And then
Right.
you should have the H1 probably should be welcome to the Franz House Museum. It depends on your content, what you want to do.
Mhm.
And then we have another H2, which is Franz House Museum. Then we have an H3 that is how, what the what's it called, the 2001 Space Odyssey
Right.
computer. What is how? And
Open the
then
pod bay doors, Hal.
this, I know. So, and then there's a staying informed H2. There is nothing here that allows me to get an idea of what the content of the page is. And I haven't really done any more testing. It does have a skip
Right.
to main content link, which is good. But does it
Mhm.
take me to the main content? No, it's still, because there's a slider and sliders are so often impassable. Actually, I did not find a keyboard trap here, but so in the plan your visit page is a bit better. It still has the text on image, but it is definitely better from what we saw earlier. So, and actually tickets and opening hours, it goes. But you see what this did here. Again, this is a layout thing, and the layout
Right.
is so much better here because we've
Right.
got tickets and opening hours page. There's a black, I mean, it still is all caps, which isn't great. But the layout is much better. It's all aligned to the left, and
Mhm.
there's no text on images. But if you see what happened, I was using my tab. I was using just the keyboard to navigate the page,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I got to tickets and opening hours. Actually, I got to tickets and opening hours with the tab,
Mhm.
and when I think I clicked on enter. Let me try again. Skip to main content. Yeah, I think I clicked on enter, and it took me to another page without letting me know that he was going
Right.
to do that. That is wrong. It's against, it's a, I actually don't know if it's a WCAG violation, if it's a guidelines violation or simply best practice, but it is bad because I don't know now that I'm in a new page. It was unexpected. If I want to go back to the previous page, then I'm going to have to do a whole load more navigation and so on. But anyway, it's interesting how they finally changed this layout. So this is an
Mhm.
example of layout. But as I was preparing for today's episode, I remembered a really great talk that I saw last year at a conference that is called, let me remind myself, I've already got it open here, the tab. It's called Inclusive Design 24. And it's a yearly conference. It happens in September and it's 24 hours around it's a bit like, I think the Big Orange Heart conference used to be like that. And WP Accessibility Day is like that as well. It's like
Mhm. 24
24
hours.
hours across the globe. So whichever part of the world you're in, there's always something going on.
Mhm.
And it's a great conference if you're interested in inclusive design. Kay Moores and Lizzie Hamlin gave this talk called "How Many Senses Do You Think You Have?" And I honestly swear that I'm not quoting this because I am quoted within it, because I didn't know. But Kay and I I think we made friends on LinkedIn, because we're both accessibility professionals, but she resonates with me a lot because Kay has a inclusive and accessible marketing agency, and
Mhm.
she's had a brain tumor that has left her. She's fine now, but she's been left with various types of brain damage that you don't know by seeing her or hearing her talk. And a lot of the issues that she has are similar to stuff that affects me. I have a vestibular disorder, and so this talk is so great because the title is "How many cents do you think you have?" How many cents do you think you have, Michelle?
We're always taught that there are 5 senses, but I'm going to guess that you're going to tell me there are more.
How did you guess, Michelle? That is
Oh,
amazing. So, according to, I want to quote precisely, eco-psychologist Michael J. Cohen says that we have 53 senses divided in 4 categories. And the categories are radiation senses like color, reaction, moods to temperatures, then feeling senses like sensitivity to gravity, to air, to wind pressure, to motion, chemical senses like hormones, hunger, thirst, heart and breathing rate, and then mental senses like pain, mental or spiritual distress, your sense of self, your psychic capacity. So this is like 53, and all of these are affected by layout and how we format, which is really also a very good thing to include. I'm glad you included it. And then apparently neurologists agree on 9 senses, including, I don't have all of them, but including thermoception, which is the sense of heat, nociception, which is the perception of pain, equilibrioception, the perception of balance, and proprioception, which is a perception of body awareness.
mhm.
Do you know what percentage of the population experiences sensory sensitivity, which is all that we talked about?
I don't know,
It's,
but I will guess 35%.
oh my God, Michelle, is 33%.
Is it really?
So,
I almost
yeah,
said
it is.
32.
Incredible, incredible. So, and also people with 37 to 69% of autistic individuals or on the spectrum or with some form of neurodivergence live with a sensitivity. This is another one of those invisible disabilities that are hugely affected by design, which is why we're here. So one of them is vestibular disorder. I've mentioned mine so many times. So, and also the web content accessibility guidelines on which most legislations are based, not all of them, but a lot of the legislations, they don't cover minimum and maximum limits for sensory loading. They don't, they are a work in progress. They didn't start that long ago. So there's lots of this stuff they don't cover yet, but that does affect people hugely. So that's why sensory friendly web design, really layouts are essential. Clean layouts with breathing space, options to adjust font sizes, height and color contrast, and stuff like that. And here's where she quoted me, which I didn't expect because I was watching. But basically, I might have said this before, but it bears repeating so much. This is from a talk that I gave, and it's a really important differentiation because when we build a website or an app or a digital product of any kind, it exists to be interacted with. We need these things to learn. We need a web page to learn, like the museum page that we had earlier. We need it to learn or to inform ourselves on something, on the time to visit or to complete a task. And it's a human-computer interaction. But when we create a video, a film, a moving image as an art form that uses technology, that's to be passively received and no interaction is required. So knock yourself out. If you want to do something that's creative and doesn't take any of this into consideration, the practical side of it, do it. But don't do it when you're doing a website because you might seriously be making me run for the hills. So I have quite a few examples, but I am aware that I've been talking nonstop for a while, Michelle. So you are free to interject.
Okay. Well, one of the
I'm
things
gonna.
that one of the things I mentioned last week was white space when we were talking about color. And white space doesn't necessarily mean white, as we know, right? So white space is open space on the page. And I mentioned like Amazon is one of the busiest websites that I will visit, but it's organized chaos to me, right? So there's columns, there's rows, everything makes sense. And then I also shared the Dan's Crafts and Things local website that just makes me like the anxiety creep up as soon as I visit that website because there's so much, it's so disorganized. And there's no rhyme or reason to how it is presented, and the white space isn't white either, which when you're filling that much of the page with text and photos, at least make your white space actually be white because it's a little less overwhelming to people who have visual overstimulation like I do. And so I was thinking about that as I scroll things. I'm constantly thinking about that. It's like one of the reasons I don't attend sporting events is because it's too overstimulating to me. The sounds and the sights and everything all at once. Um, I can't have my television, my air conditioning, and my the hood stove, like the hood over my stove, going at the same time because it's way too much noise and too much overstimulation that's at odds with one another. Visually, that is what some websites are like as well as you visit them. It's the layout isn't such that it's organized in a way, it's not left aligned. The colors and contrasts are too overwhelming. There is no actual white anything, and it's so it starts to get to the point where it is very overstimulating.
Yeah.
Now I see that you've got something to add to the stage. I'm going to bring it up, and you're going to have to hit refresh for it to do what it just did because oh no,
Yeah,
it's doing it.
it's doing it. It's doing it.
This
No, no, no.
is
You can't.
terrible.
There is no respite from this website. So this website that we see on the screen
Yeah,
is Itsu, which is a chain of Asian inspired. I really would hesitate calling it Asian. In not being Asian myself, but I'm told by
right.
friends that is it's a mishmash. But anyway, it's Asian inspired. And they've got restaurants in the UK. I don't think it exists in America, does it? Itsu,
I've never heard of it.
ITSU. No, I think it's a UK thing. And the hero section is completely all centered. So as usual, I see this thing where I see the shape and I can't really read it. But there's a video on loop in the background, which is on a white background, all these vegetables cutouts are falling from the sky. And what they
Yeah,
don't know, they're trying to sell food to me and they're making me sick. So, and this
yeah,
is an
yeah.
example that Kay and Lizzie bring in their talk. And I'm like, oh, thank you for this example. Just yet another example that I can use in
Yeah.
my. But and then as you go down, they use what is called the Z layout. As
Right.
again, what I was describing earlier, you've
Hmm.
got text on the left and an image on the right, and then below it's vice versa. And it's much easier to follow. But then I don't understand why they mix layouts. I cannot stand mixed alignments. They make
Mm.
me they make my head spin once again. And let's have a look just for shit. Not we can't swear. Giggles for giggles without the other one. Let's
Kicks
have a
and
look.
giggles.
Kicks and giggles. Thank you.
Yeah,
Unsurprisingly, the structure is there's
right.
no real structure here and no accessible names. Just they haven't thought about it at all. But they're gonna have to. They are going to have to. So I'm not gonna use this. But you know what I do when I want examples of bad layouts is I go to the awards website. Have I said this before?
No.
It's an old, oh, it's just the best. It is just the gift that keeps on giving. And again, I am really sorry. Whenever I bring up other people, I mean, I don't care with corporations because the designers for Itsu are probably like desperately telling them, you can't do this, you shouldn't be doing this. And the powers that be don't listen to them. A bit like
Right.
Apple and the
Right.
transparency. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole, but I'm sure that the Apple accessibility team is like been telling them for months that they shouldn't do an iOS that's based on transparency, but whatever.
Hmm.
Anyway, so the awards website, awwwards.com, it's an awards website for website design. And whenever I need examples of designs that are maybe creative, but they are absolutely usually not usable and definitely not accessible. It's never happened before yet that I haven't gone there randomly and been completely and have found anything other than something
Mhm.
unusable and inaccessible. That's what just happens. And I've already tried this. I mean, I've got it open here, I think. Gem Area, it's an agency. And we've got this like random squares. I mean, basically, this is not a layout, is it? It's not telling me what to do. It's an
No.
agency website anyway, so we won't go there. And I wish them all the best. What I want to say is that I really don't want to judge other people's work,
Right.
because there are so many reasons why you do it, and I've done things that I'm not proud of. It's not about
Sure.
judgment, it's about saying let's inform ourselves so we don't do it.
Right.
so
I
so
learn and then do better.
learn and then do better. But if I go to, okay, the directory, because I always look for like winners. So category, no, hang on, how do you find it? It's actually, then you forget, awards, sites of the year. Yeah, this is where it is. Okay, so this one, there's one that doesn't exist anymore that I was really interested in but doesn't exist. But this one is very interesting in terms of layout. This is the winner for 2024.
Okay.
It's Igloo. So if I visit the site, such a typical example. So now it's
It takes
loading. We
forever
have
to
an
load.
animation, because obviously it's just so, probably in terms of
Mm.
basically what we have on screen is an image of an igloo. You say igloo, or don't you?
Yes.
In English it's
Mhm.
igloo. That is, the blocks of the igloo are sort of animating, and it's in a snowy, very snowy kind of Greenlandish background,
Yeah.
like Arctic or Arctic if there's an igloo.
Mhm.
So anyway, if I move the mouse around, things happen. So is there a layout here? Can we visually, do we see a layout?
No.
There is no layout. It's just if I move my mouse around, it does the layout, the blocks of the igloo just move around in more ways. But
Yeah.
then if I click, and I don't know where it comes from, so I need to now
Yeah.
sound off. But the sound off is it's because I've used it before, but the sound
Uh-huh.
off uh, uh, button, it's not a button, but link is in the
Mhm.
bottom left, and it's white against gray and very, very small. It's virtually invisible. So
Well, and
uh,
all of the text is terrible as far as contrast.
yeah, it is. But also, I don't know what it does. Why did it win? What exactly do they award? Because, but again, that's not my point. I mean, it
It's
is, I'm sure it's,
artistic without
yeah, but
being
what does it do?
accessible.
I can't make it do anything.
No.
But then if I go and click, it finds zero contrast errors. So this is a proof once again that really do not trust
Right.
use automated testing tools are very helpful to give certain guidance, but really it finds zero contrast errors. And in terms of structure, there's no structure, it's just navigation. So if I were to navigate this with my keyboard, there's nothing to navigate. And then
It doesn't have an overlay, does it?
so it basic no, it has nothing. So I'm
Okay.
trying to scroll. Oh, if I scroll, then it takes me down,
Mm.
and there's like a what is it, a piece of rock with all this strange. So
I
I
think it's
mean, it is
ice.
this. Oh, and we've got the sound again.
Oh, it's
So this
ice
is
with a
basically.
pudgy penguin inside the ice. There's a frozen penguin and ice.
Oh, is there? Oh my God,
Yeah.
there is a. Oh, and it's a portfolio, is it? But if I click
Uh-huh.
to explore, nothing happens. I'm trying. Oh,
Oh,
something does
there it goes.
happen. And then
It's
it's like
terrible though.
really tiny text. Okay, so
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say here is there is no layout. We're talking about
Right.
accessible, what means, why we need layouts. So
Right.
layouts guide the eye if you're sighted, and good HTML structure guides guides screen readers and keyboards and assistive technology if you're not sighted. So for all that is good in the world, and for all that is bad, please use a layout. So, and I'm looking at all these things because in a very short time, in just over a month, I'm going to give a workshop about how to be creative and accessible. at a conference. And these are the things that I'm looking at, because these awards websites, that's what they reward. They reward creativity. So James is making quite a few.
Yeah. I was going to say, well, David says the awards website is only for cutting edge. He doubts any of those websites would be used in standard websites. And then James says, who would live in an exploding igloo anyway? And are we testing cryogenics on animals now? So I have a site I'd like you to pull up. I put it in the private chat,
yes,
so you can
please.
click on it. It's the Strong Museum of Play, which is a local museum here in Rochester, New York. And it's got some interesting things that I think the layout looks the layout looks pretty okay to me, but it has some interesting animations as you scroll. So do you see the marble that's the 0 or the O in Strong, the letter O in Strong in the logo? Actually, as you scroll, it spins, which I thought was interesting.
Okay, so that is slightly dangerous. Kind of okay for me, but you don't know.
Yeah.
So, okay,
and then there
so
are other background animations that move along with the scroll as well. And I did run it through Built With, and this is a WordPress website.
Is it?
It is, yeah. I just double checking that it has Yoast and Gravity Forms.
Let's see. Okay, so it does have a skip to main content link, which doesn't work with a keyboard, so there's no point to it. No, it doesn't. It didn't work for me. So so in terms of layout, it is, so that's interesting. The layout visually looks kind of all right, because it is leading us. It's saying, it's giving us options, and visually it works. And I think it's got a few contrast issues, but not huge ones. Yeah, I would. Apparently, it's very rare to find. There's a date picker here, and apparently very, very few are actually accessible, according to my friends. It's quite. Let's see if. Yeah, they're normally not that accessible anyway. So the marble moving. Oh, that happened. Something happened that I didn't know would happen. So the marble moving is actually maybe just about subtle enough, but it does, I don't know, how do you feel about it, Michelle? It does not make me sick, but that's, again, maybe makes someone else sick.
It doesn't bother. I actually thought it was interesting. I'm not saying I would necessarily have to have it, but I like that it's not independent of the scroll. So it only works when I'm scrolling, which feels like a much more expected kind of thing than just something auto playing.
Yeah.
It's connected to my action.
Yeah. So in terms of structure, is at least on this on these events page, it's a bit rubbish. I mean, there wasn't that much of a structure there. And here on the home page, yeah, not greatly done either. But in terms of layout, it does have a more helpful layout than others, because there's a big photo to start with, and then it says visit the ultimate play destination. Well, that's good copy. It tells me what it is, what it does. And then the Strong National Museum of Play is a highly interactive collection-based museum. It's very, sorry, I didn't check the contrast. No, it doesn't really have big contrast areas. It picks one, but that's probably not. So, and it wants me to do two things: either plan my visit or ticket options, and the buttons are slightly different because they have a different visually. The buttons are different, and your childhood is closer than you think. So I think that this layout sort of visually does help, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think this much better than the other museum that we were looking at, for example. And I don't see text over images. Although I haven't scrolled down. If you scroll down to the calendar, yeah, so the calendar, they are centered, and I would guess that is a function of the. It can be fixed with CSS for sure, but I think that's a function of the plugin that they use for calendaring, and I haven't checked to see what calendar they're using. But it does look,
way tidier than a lot of other of
Yeah.
other layouts. Yeah, interesting one. I mean, it's got this, the line is too long, but there are a few things, but visually, from the point of view of the layout, is way better than a lot of others. But I want to address Dave's comment on the Words website being only
Mhm.
for cutting edge. Well, it, and it's a good point to make, but at the same time, I think that they are dangerous because these are the websites that people go and look at for inspiration. And
Mm.
what good was that Igloo website? Who does
Right.
it serve? I don't really understand it. What are we actually awarding? Why? What's the point of this award? They don't explain that very well. But what is dangerous is that someone may go there and think, oh my God, I gotta do something different. This is cool.
This
This will
is the
get me
way
an
it's supposed
award.
to be. Yay. Yeah.
And people then copy. And that's what people said when, so for the Apple iOS thing, they at the recent keynote at their main dev conference, the Apple Dev Conference, they announced the forthcoming iOS. If it comes the way it is, I'm gonna have to change operating system after
Mhm.
35 years or however long. I started in 94 using a Mac, and I'm gonna have to go. It's not that long. It's 31, isn't it? I just I um
Yes.
because
Yes.
it's all based on transparency, and you can tweak it to a point, but it's all based on transparency, and that is just not accessible. And you can't ship something that isn't accessible by default. But what a lot of people said was, now people are going to copy it. They are going to because these people lead, they set it's not just cutting edge, they set trends. So there afterwards there was
Right.
so on CSS, what's it called, CSS not CSS tricks, that's from the if a CSS website that everybody looks at, it already had
Mhm.
like 10 a newsletter with like 10 different blog posts and code pen, thank you, the CS
Oh yeah.
code
Okay.
pen is
Mhm.
what I meant. And everybody was everybody and their mother were posting their own version of the Apple iOS. So there you go, you've created an inaccessible trend, thank you very much. So there you go with the Igloo. There's a previous site of the year winner that are using talks that is completely inaccessible, and it should really be a video. So these are
Mhm.
all things, and people go and do it. You know, they Glue is a similar concept. It's something that is completely inaccessible, and it's not a video, but it's totally visual, and
Yeah.
people go and do that because the trend is set. So that's why it's really dangerous. And this kind of website they have responsibilities. So basically,
Yes.
how you format, once again, you have to have a visual layout, and you have to make sure that your visual layout has a corresponding structural order that makes sense in
Mhm.
HTML when you set up the HTML. Um, and that's why I tell people, and I definitely tell my clients, that when you create your own content, before you even get to wireframes, do it in a Google Doc, because you will do it in
Mhm.
a linear way. And when you put things on the page, you follow that. It doesn't mean that you have to go in a straight line,
Right.
because otherwise you would probably be centric. We don't want that. Do use the layout, but do it in such a way that a screen reader can navigate through it, which means a keyboard user can navigate through it, and that visually it also makes sense. And in fact,
Yeah.
I just remembered, I know that we're already, oh, God, as
Way over
usual,
time as usual.
way over time, way
Yeah,
over
I like it.
time.
What I like about Google Docs too is it doesn't just it says heading 1, heading 2, title. So it gives you those options so that when you translate that over to a website, you have an idea of how the hierarchy of your page should go if you've used it properly. I think that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
So can I just, because this other example is really good, I'm just going to bring it up super, super quickly. An example of a website that everybody was hailing as super creative recently, and that is really not accessible. I'm just going to
Yeah. Bring it up and I'll put
quickly,
it on the screen.
there you go. It's a Dropbox branding guidelines, and it's got, if you're sighted, this we see a basically a white grid. So it's the page is white and it has a like a grid in with thin blue lines. And then I mean I have to find my way around, but basically the layout is like a bento box type thing with all very colorful boxes, and it looks great if you're sighted. But if you hover over, things happen, animations animate, and they stop. So that's good. When you try and it actually does work with a keyboard, but it has no, I don't think it has any real HTML structure. So it's like, it looks great. It really does. Actually,
Yeah.
what is it? It's kind of JavaScript thing. But so if you want to do something similar, but I don't think I don't find it new. I've seen this has been done before, but it does look lovely. Actually,
It's almost
the only way
Mondrian,
to
isn't
make
it?
things happen, it is very Mondrian. So it's not like it's new, this kind of thing. And it seems to use a grid that is tight enough. And let's see what happens. So if I use my keyboard, I tried, for instance, I'm hovering over color. And if I'm not a mouse user, if I'm using my keyboard and I now click on enter, nothing happens. So it's not accessible. If I
Not at all.
tab through, you can see that there's a focus on the, but then when I click, oh, it has happened now. It has
Okay.
opened iconography. Okay. So this is a beautiful layout for sure. Use this kind of layout that's visually stunning, but also please make it accessible. We didn't even check the
Absolutely.
color contrast, but yeah. Okay, that's it. As usual, we're way over.
That's it
Slightly
for
over
this
then.
week. Oh, that's okay. I don't remember what next week is. So, next week I think is one moment. I can tell you. Next week is government. However we said it, legislation. Next week is
Ooh, that's an
legislation. So
interesting
next
one.
week is, yeah, for sure, because legislation is different all over the world. So I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about the EU, and we could talk a little bit about what legislation looks like in the United States. But I will tell you that it's different state by state, and there is no centralized legislation that I'm aware of around web accessibility. So, but we could talk about that. I'll do a little research between now and then, and we will come back and talk about what some of the legislation that we are familiar with looks like and what it means if you are not compliant. So make sure you join us
Yep.
again next week. And then I will remind people in advance that we will not have an episode the week of WordCamp US because I won't be here. I will be at WordCamp US doing
Awesome.
things. Actually, I think my talk might actually be at the same time or similar to the time when we're usually here. So something like that. And so
Wonderful.
we'll skip that week, but we will be around up to that point, and then after again. You can see the whole list if in YouTube. If you're watching YouTube, you can see the list of upcoming topics in the description below. Thank you again, Piccia. This has been awesome. I always learn so much from you. I know a lot, but I don't know everything, and I certainly don't know as much as you
Neither
do.
do
And I
I.
continue to learn from you, so I appreciate. And it is just also testimony to the fact that you never stop learning about all of these issues. So even
Never.
experts are still learning, and the web continues to grow, and the things that we can do with it. Remember parallax, for example. Things.
I used to love it.
I know, I did too, and marquees and all of the things that we did 10, 15, 20 years ago, we have abandoned since because we know that they're not good. I mean, they're just not good layout anyway, but they also tend to be inaccessible. So we continue to learn and grow as the web evolves, and so I appreciate that you stay on the cutting edge of it and bring us all of that information. So until next week, we will see everybody back to talk about legislation. Bye.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Bye bye.